I'm Malia White, real-life bosun and cast member on Bravo's Below Deck Med. Working in my industry can be very interesting. These are my stories. As you'll find out, my world is a total ship show. Hey guys, welcome to Total Ship Show. I'm Malia and I'm here with one of my best friends, Amanda, probably the person who knows me the most.
I would say so.
Welcome to episode 1. Just kind of enter with how I got into yachting, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. We should talk about how we met.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
How did we meet? College.
Psychology class?
Yes.
Physiology?
Psychology.
Okay.
Yeah, psychology. Okay, so we're both, Amanda and I are both alumni of Boulder.
Buffs.
We're Buffs, yeah, go Buffs. So we went to University of Colorado at Boulder and we met our senior year, actually.
Yeah, summer school.
Summer school, yep. Senior year. Oh shit. Psychology.
Yeah.
And yeah,
well,
then from there.
I worked with Mandy and had heard your name. Mm-hmm. And Malia is obviously not a super common name, so there was a Malia in my class. And I just went up to her and I was like, hey, are you by chance Mandy Page's roommate? And she was like, yeah, I am. And that's pretty much how we became friends. It was so funny.
And the rest is history.
Yep. Lived together in Denver for a couple of years with my sweet baby girls, my cats.
Oh God.
And
yeah, her cats. They're not actual humans, they're cats,
yeah.
But I do love them. I'm the cool aunt to her cats.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and that's where, we were living together when you were interviewing for Below Deck, so.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, you were there for my first Below Deck interview that day, that fateful day.
Oh my gosh, I remember you were like, yeah, I'm trying out for reality, and I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? You're like, yeah, it's gonna be cool. I love to scuba dive, and then I'm across the couch from you, and remember you were like, pretending to be really ditzy to get on the show?
No, I was not.
Yes.
No, I was not. But
I remember
my first
sitting
round.
across from you like, who is she?
No, you just have to put, you got to put on when they do the interviews for Below Deck, it's it was my very first time. It was the first time interviewing, and you've got to put on a lot of personality. You got to be really, bubbly, which I think for people that know me, that's not exactly my norm. I'm not always completely bubbly, and
I was just dying laughing looking at you, and I remember just trying not to make eye contact because I knew that you would get the giggles.
Well, we had been drinking as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. We'd had some wine. I was surprised my kitties didn't make it into your interview.
Yeah.
Your tryout. But yeah, it was just so funny, and then here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the same from college.
Right. Well, and also, it's crazy that you've made it so far in the yachting industry, and it all started from you being on a reality show. Who would have thought?
I remember when it all changed is, obviously Below Deck, that changed.
Yeah. I
remember getting that phone call and they're like, do you want to come be on a reality TV show because you've made it? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, you're going to have to leave in a week.
And you did your classes? You literally had to go to Fort Lauderdale and not tell anyone what you were doing.
Yep. I packed, remember we had my going away party, I packed up my cubicle and I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'll see you guys in 6 weeks, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, and everyone was like, you're not really going away, but we still had a huge
yeah, we had a big going away party, and I was like, well,
I forgot about that.
I think I have to come right back to my job in 6 weeks. Yeah.
And then it was just, it was just so interesting. It was funny because I remember you did the classes and you were like, yeah, I'm doing safety courses. I have no idea what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And then it turned out you fell in love with being able to be on a boat and combine these different passions, which are obviously traveling and scuba diving.
Yeah.
And it was just so crazy.
Yeah. And I think I get that from obviously my childhood and where how I grew up.
Oh yeah, because you grew up diving off of the West Coast and
Oregon.
So
I guess a little bit about my background, because I think people just assume yachting. I've kind of grew up around it, whatever. I like literally 5 years ago, I had no clue what a yacht was. I had never stepped foot on one. I've never worked on one. And yeah, like growing up, we grew up around the water. I grew up in Oregon, but I'm from like
town, right?
a tiny town.
Yeah.
A tiny town. So I'm from Pleasant Hill, Oregon, which is way out in the country. And yeah, there's no yachts in Pleasant Hill, Oregon. I can tell you that for free.
Yeah.
But yeah, diving, the ocean, that's kind of always been in my background because growing up, my brothers, so I have 5 older brothers, we all were taught to scuba dive at a really young age. And so diving has always been a passion of mine. So the ocean, diving, and then my mom is, as you know, she was a flight attendant, a stewardess, an air stewardess. So travel and diving have kind of always been.
Oh yeah, I remember when you were still on the like companion pass
Yes.
as like a family member for United, and you were able to just travel all the time.
I don't know how my family did that with 6 kids, and we all flew standby. Like my parents are saints.
It was so funny. We'd be like, you know, like broke, like right after college.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working like crazy hours, working retail management. And barely, you know, being able to pay rent, and you'd be like, hey, do you want to go to like France? I'm like, in what world can I afford to get on a plane? But that's what you did, you know, and it was such a, like, that was such a cool, one of the luxuries that you
is
have
the
had.
best gift my mom has like ever, well, besides obviously my life, but like free flying. I had free flying, and that's, my life looked very glamorous, but for anyone who's done companion passes, you know that you're getting like the last seat on the plane a lot. Like, yeah, sure, sometimes you get first class, but sometimes you get a seat and then the person shows up at very last minute and they come on and they're like,
kick you off.
Yeah, Miss White, could you leave? Yeah. Shit.
Or like you don't even get on a flight. You know, you show up at the airport at 5 a.m. trying to get on a flight, and then you sit and standby for like 6 hours, sometimes even a full day, and you still don't get on a flight.
I have slept in many airports around the world.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my background. That's how, I mean, I grew up Pleasant Hill, Oregon. I have 5 older brothers. My parents, you know, like, I didn't really know what yachting was. I went to college. I thought, yeah, I'll go to college, I'll get a job.
What was your like thought going to CU? Like, what brought you to CU, and like, why did you study psychology? I don't think I even know that about you.
Well, I wanted to go out of state because I'm from such a small town. Like, the closest university to me was University of Oregon, but I didn't want to go there because a lot of people from my town and other towns that are close by go there. And my 5 older brothers were all still in the state. And so I was like, you know, if I'm going to kind of just go and discover who I want to be, I kind of got to get away from like everything that I know.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. And I knew that if I went to University of Oregon, like, my home was very close, so I'd go home all the time, I'd be around the same people, and I was like, you know what, I just need to get out of state, start over, meet new people, and, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that I did, because I think I was able to like kind of become who I am now, which I don't think I would have never been this adventurous, I think.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's like, I mean, you also snowboard, so it kind of made sense for you to go to a place where you could go.
Yeah, I'm super outdoorsy.
Spend time in the mountains.
Yeah, I wanted to go somewhere active, like, you know, Colorado has skiing, snowboarding, rock climbing. It's got the mountains. It has everything that I want.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to Boulder. And then, I don't know.
I miss rock climbing. We haven't done that in a minute.
Yeah. But yeah, and then after college, went backpacking, and then I guess I should tell the story of how I actually applied for Below Deck, which is Mandy and I had gone backpacking, and we came back. We were staying at Allison's house in California, and we're like, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to like go back to Colorado, get our jobs again? Do we want to like, I don't know, try something different? So a lot of rosé was involved, but we started day drinking, and we were watching like The Amazing Race or something, and we're like, wait, that looks cool. Why don't we do that? So we started applying for all these like The Amazing Race and like looking at just like what there is out there. And I was like, I don't want to go back to my cubicle. I don't want to go back to my normal job. And I saw this thing online, like apply for below deck. And I was like, I don't know what below deck is, but working on a boat looks cool.
Yeah.
And I teach scuba diving. I'd worked on dive boats, and I was like, well, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
So drunkenly, I applied for below deck, not knowing what it was. And then the next day, I get a phone call from this number in LA, and they're like, yeah, do you want to like go through with the application process? We really like, what you've put down. And I was like, what did I put down?
Right.
I don't really remember. And yeah, I actually got interviewed for the first season of the Mediterranean. I made it all the way to the end, and I didn't make it. So I ended up moving back to Colorado. I was like, well, that was cool, that was fun. Moved back to Colorado, and that's when.
That's so funny. What did your family think, like when you were
Oh, my family was like, do not do that.
I mean, I know Sean, so I can imagine what his thoughts were.
My brothers were like, no, do not do that. Like, you are.
So they were like me, like,
Well, I think, it was, how old was I? I was like 20.
Oh my gosh.
23.
We were a little older than that, I think.
24, maybe?
No, older than that even.
No,
I
was 24. 25?
At least 25.
Okay. I think I was 25 I was 25 my first season.
Yeah.
Or 24. Yeah, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, why was that so hard? So I was 25 my first season, and yeah, I still had a lot of growing up to do, I think. So as you can tell, my first season, my little love triangle tryst.
Never forget.
Yeah, and I was still like, right out of college, still very like reactive and kind of a punk-ass young version of me.
You were a playgirl.
Okay.
You were just breaking hearts.
Okay, I was not a playgirl. That's not what I would call it.
I don't know.
I've definitely been a flirt in my life, yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. But it's funny, I mean, the show has, like, you've grown up so much since being on the show and like evolving in your career and like, honestly just finding a passion that you love. It's so crazy.
Well, that was the cool part about the show is so doing the first season was a whirlwind. I had no clue what to expect, and suddenly I'm on a yacht. Like, when I tell you I had no clue what to expect, I mean, like, the night before stepping onto the boat, I was Googling, like, what do you call the left side or the right side, or how do I do this? I was looking up different knots and kind of all this stuff.
It's kind of dangerous that they're putting people
I think about that now, and I'm so like, I don't know that I was qualified for this.
Yeah, like you did the safety courses, but that's so funny.
Yeah, it's pretty, looking back, you're kind of like, wow, I'm surprised they put me on there.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Then like finding that passion and just going with it, that's been the biggest blessing, I think, of Below Deck.
Yeah.
And there's this like stigma in the industry, like, oh, you've done Below Deck, but now you'll never be taken seriously. And that kills me because without Below Deck, I never would have found this industry. I don't think it's a very common thing for an American to know about yachting. Like,
no,
I don't know a single, like, except for my yachty friends now, like, no one in Colorado, no one in Oregon, no one that I grew up around knows about yachting.
Like, you see, like, celebrities, on yachts, but otherwise, I mean, truly, I think unless you grew up in, like, Fort Lauderdale or Miami.
But what's crazy is, like, even in Fort Lauderdale, a lot of people don't know about the yachting industry.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And then there was, like, that rumor that you don't even work in yachting, that you were an actress for Below Deck.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so to debunk that rumor, I do work in yachting.
Yeah.
Ever since the show, after the first season, I was like, you know what? I actually really love this industry, and I'd like to pursue it. So I came back to Colorado, packed my bags. I was like, sorry, Amanda, I can't rent this room anymore. And yeah, went and got my 100-ton captain's license. And from there, like, I think my family, my brothers, they're kind of like, hey dude, this is actually a perfect kind of career for you.
Yeah.
And it can be a career.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is like yachting can be a very serious, a very good career. Yeah.
And your goal is to become like a captain and do that. And like, where are you at right now in terms of your education and just what you need to do to get there?
Yeah, so currently I am just steps away from becoming a chief officer. So getting my OOW ticket.
That's so cool.
And you know, I think that's what I like about yachting too, is the learning and schooling never stops. Like season 1 when you saw me as a green deckhand and now to bosun, I've done so much schooling and had so much learning and training. So right now I'm currently a bosun on a 72-meter yacht, which means, you know, I've got a crew of 6 under me and I've got a second officer and a chief officer above me and the captain, of course. So it's pretty cool.
That's super cool. And like, do you have to do, I mean, I know obviously that you do a lot of education and courses. Do you also have to get like a certain number of hours on a boat in order to move your way up as a captain?
Yeah, so in order to keep going up with tonnage, you need drive time, you need time in the bridge. Okay. So all that time spent in the bridge is like a lookout, and then you eventually get time as a watchkeeper, and all that goes towards your license. So you have to prove you have a certain amount of sea time.
So it's like being a pilot, like logging your hours, and you have someone there coaching you to make sure that you're doing it right.
Yeah, and every Atlantic crossing, because some of the miles have to be a certain, a certain percentage of the hours have to be a certain mileage offshore.
Oh, wow.
You know, so you've got to have proven sea time signed onto a vessel.
Right.
It's pretty serious. Like all of it's very serious. So your tickets get endorsed by either like the Coast Guard is one agency, MCA is another agency, but it's pretty serious stuff. Like you got to get it all endorsed and stamped for approval, and then for my next test I have to go do an oral examination in front of an examiner, and that person will tell me they'll say yes or no. It's kind of it's very nerve-wracking, very nerve-wracking.
That's wild. So when do you do that?
I'm thinking it's going to be the end of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's amazing.
I got to get a lot of studying in.
Yeah.
I've got to pass my next course, which is GMDSS. So holding thumbs that happens.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Which, you know, this is the side to yachting that you don't really see so much in the show. You know, obviously in the show it's portrayed a lot being the flirt or being the love interest and stuff, and that's all good and fun. I mean, that definitely was me back in the first season.
Yeah.
But
how did you feel about that, like with how they were trying to portray you? Because obviously now you've been on a couple seasons and it's changed. Like it's the way that you're viewed has completely evolved.
Yeah, I think, well, you know, at first I was like, oh my gosh, I look crazy. But I was okay with it because that was me. I was very reactive and very flirtatious and very like, you know, I had a big chip on my shoulder, like I'm here to prove myself. And now I've kind of grown up and kind of mellowed out.
Right.
And as I step into more leadership roles, I see myself kind of chilling out a bit more and kind of realizing I don't really need to prove anything so much anymore.
Yeah.
Don't have a huge chip on my shoulder. I'm not this younger version of me that's still trying to fight life.
Yeah. Well, and even like this most recent season, you know, I mean, it's totally different. Like you're a leader and you're leading this team of like younger people who really want to grow, and I think that like the female empowerment is amazing. Like it was really cool to see you with an entire crew of males, and they just respected the hell out of you. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, thank you. That is cool. I mean, I love being a mentor, or like, you know, yachting's unique in that sense as well. When you've got people that you work and play with all the time, because you're their boss on deck, but then you're also their friend, so you kind of morph into this mentor slash, you know, you still want to go out and have drinks and have fun with them, but you're also kind of their mentor. And I think that's also why I love it, and that's why I want to be a captain, because I think captains, when they're really good at their job, that's exactly what they are. They've got that fine line of, yeah, you're this badass that drives this big machine and has all these tickets and stuff, but you're also this personable mentor that's kind of guiding a crew to figure out, you know, the best route for them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's a few out there that we're probably going to talk to this season.
Woohoo! Amazing. Yeah, I think it's awesome. There's some really strong women in your industry, so it's been fun to watch you grow into that role.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially with like, I don't know, kind of my background, and now I had a lot going on in life, and then to find this industry and kind of progress, it's been a good stepping stone. And I get all the time, I get asked questions about like, how can I do this, or how can other females do this? And honestly, you know, obviously Below Deck helped me into the industry, but that's kind of why I want to highlight the actual industry of yachting for other women or men or anyone that wants to get into it. It is achievable. It's very achievable. I mean,
what would you tell someone? Like if somebody is just wanting to get into yachting and they're like you were, and they don't have the opportunity to, you know, be on Bravo, on Below Deck, what would you tell them? Like, what's the first step?
Well, the first thing I would say is don't expect it to be just like Below Deck. You know, Below Deck, you see a lot of the highlights of the lowlights. And the first thing is like, Below Deck shows a charter season, which is like, that's fun. You're on charter, it's, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into yachting. When the boat, you know, I always laugh because the guests, when they're on charter, when they drop off, they're like, oh, now that we're gone, you guys get to like not do anything.
And then you guys spend an entire day cleaning.
Yeah, and we're like, no, we don't just get days off. Like, we don't just like drop the tools and we're like, sweet. Like,
or when the guests expect you guys to also be their entertainment. That is so funny.
It's like they just like expect, like in yachting, like, oh, so now that we're gone, you guys just get time off until the next people come. And it's like, no, we now have to clean the whole boat. We have to fix everything that you've broken. Like, you know, we don't get a lot of time off, I would say.
Yeah.
And well, you know me, my schedule's hectic. I can't tell you when I miss a lot of holidays. You miss a lot of family holidays. So yachting's hard in that aspect. Like, I'd say yes, go for it if it's something that you think you want. But for people who really like routine, like they want to be home for Thanksgiving or they want to have Christmas off, yachting can be very tough because you're I don't know my schedule.
Well, you're 100% at the mercy of either the owner or who is chartering it. I mean, you if they want to do it and they're paying this money, you have to work. You know, there's really no negotiating like, oh, let's leave the day after Christmas instead. That's never going to happen.
Or like, oh no, we don't want to party in St. Bart's for New Year's. Like, yeah, you do. So we will be there.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I think, so that's a little bit about me and how I got into yachting and kind of where I am now with it, like stepping up in my career. And part of why I wanted to do this podcast is because, you know, I want to talk about kind of my other side, like not my Bravo, Malia.
Not your character side.
Well, not. I mean, what you see on Bravo is me. It is definitely the real me. But, you know, I've grown up a bit, and I want to share my passion for this industry because a few of the Below Deck people, you know, they don't continue to work in the industry, or they do Below Deck as their way out of the industry. And that's not my story. My story is Below Deck was my way into the industry, and I want to make this a career. This is my career, and I'm passionate about it. And I'm passionate about becoming, you know, I'm passionate as a bosun. I'm passionate about becoming an officer, eventually a captain, and continuing. And I want to share this story and stories of other people in the industry, like fellow females in the industry, what they've gone through, and kind of just talk about the different venues of how to get into yachting, of what it's like to be in yachting, and what kind of careers there are. So throughout the seasons, we'll speak to, you know, other captains, engineers. There's all kinds of people in yachting, masseuses.
I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Just hearing about an industry that, unless you're working it or you're living it, you really like, you don't really just go and experience yachting one time. You know, it's like you can either.
Well, yeah, I've never. I was like, damn, I'd really like to go out on a yacht, so I guess I'll have to be crew.
Yeah. You sent me you're like, you should charter a yacht. Remember, you told me and Kelsey and Mandy, and I'm like, how much is it? Oh, yeah, okay.
It's just a cool.
Give us 20 years, and then maybe we'll experience it.
Hey, I have faith, but I'm not working.
That's right.
Yep. Or maybe when I'm captain, I'll give you a discount.
There we go. I'll just hide in your room. No one even needs to know I'm there.
Yeah. The captain's quarters?
Yeah.
People will know.
Oh,
That's the most juicy gossip on the boat.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, I think we've got a couple of fan questions.
Okay.
Do you want to move on to that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So from Lily Football, as a young girl, where do you start to get into the deckhand side of the industry? We already talked a little bit about it, but.
Yeah. So, this is a question that's kind of tough because I want to just say, as a girl, just go for it. Go and be on deck. But obviously, yachting, there is a little side to yachting that's still a bit misogynistic, unfortunately, where the normal is to have guys on deck. So sometimes, like even for myself, my first job in yachting outside of below deck, so when I went to first get on a boat outside of filming, I was having a really tough time getting a deckhand position. So my first job was actually as a deck stew. And it was on a smaller boat, I was deck stew, and I was happy to help out because, it's actually really nice learning what the stewardesses do and also getting to be on deck. But at the end of the day, I was like, I don't mind helping out. I don't mind doing the stew side, but I want to be a deckhand. Like, that's what I want to do. So eventually I realized if I wanted to be taken seriously as a deckhand, I just got to take deck stew off my resume. Like, I'm not willing to be a deck stew, I'm a deckhand. And so what's important is, of course, to get your qualifications. So your first thing is your STCW, which is your basic intro. Everyone has to do it. And that's basically just teaching people survival techniques at sea. Mm-hmm. And then after your STCW, if you want to focus, if you already know primarily that you want to focus on deck, get a ticket. So like a powerboat ticket, like a yacht master type of ticket, any sort of ticket to enable you to drive a tender or teach you how to drive a tender, that always helps. And that's, or your, a jet ski license, anything like that will help you on deck. And so for women especially, I'd say get a ticket and don't take no for an answer. Like, don't let them tell you, oh, well, you're cute. You should just be a stew. Hell no. If you want to be a deckhand, be a deckhand and put that on your resume. Say, I'm here to be a deckhand. Yeah. And stick with it.
Yep. Good advice for really any male-dominated industry.
Yeah, it might be male-dominated on deck, but we have a place, and the industry is definitely changing. There's more female captains now. There's more female engineers. There's a ton of female chief officers. I have a great mentor. Her name's Jen. She's a chief officer, and she's, just opening the door for so many women. She runs a program called She of the Sea, and it's just constantly showing, other female job opportunities and connecting females in the industry. I tell you right now, the ladies are taking over the yachting industry.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we don't have to be stewardesses. It's fine if you want to be, but you don't have to be.
Right. There's other things out there. That's amazing. Okay. From Georgie Rastal, what is your next yachting goal?
My next goal, so what we're talking about is I'm doing my OOW ticket, which is officer in charge of a navigational watch, basically. And I will need to pass 2 more courses, which is GMDSS and Nav and Radar. And then I'll have a long couple months of studying, and then I will do my oral examination. So wish me luck, and which this ticket will allow me to be an officer. And being an officer means I play a more dominant part in the bridge. And then I'll be going for my chief mate's ticket.
Awesome. That's amazing.
One step closer to captain.
Awesome.
It's not long.
It's going to be a busy year. That'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you. From Jones Prime, how long is yachting season?
Okay, so this is a funny one. So when we film Below Deck, we only film for 6 weeks. That is not yachting. Yachting is, so some people are like, what do you do the rest of the time?
Yeah.
So when you work in yachting, when you actually work on a boat, that is your home. Like, I don't live anywhere. I live on my boat.
Yeah, that's your home base.
Yeah, I live in a cabin with one other person. It's not glamorous. And I go where the boat goes, and it's all year. So I work for a private family. I've worked for this family for about 2 years now, and I live on the boat, and the season is typically, you have a Mediterranean season and you have a Caribbean season, which are a couple months, but in between that, you know, the boat has to go into a shipyard, we have to get repairs, it has to be inspected. So my job is a full year. Like, it's a normal job.
Right, even when it's in the shipyard, you guys are still doing work on the boat.
That's probably the
constantly.
busiest time is the shipyard.
That's wild.
Yeah, there's like this theory, like, oh, well, they work like a couple months. No, I work full time. I have a full-time job.
I can vouch for that, because I can't get her to take any time off and come stay with me.
So when the boat's not on charter, we still work, 8 to 5. We get up every day, work 8 to 5. Someone always has to be on watch on the boat. So someone always has to be in charge, sober, in charge on the boat.
Right.
So you'll have a weekend watch typically where, you have to stay on the boat in uniform and kind of hold down the fort.
Yeah.
So it's a full-time position, full-time career. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so from Alex Fernandez, what is it like living on a yacht for long periods of time?
Oof. That's the twist in yachting is, sometimes it's not great, you better really like your roommate, because you spend a lot of time with that person.
And it's not like the room is big. You're like
their rooms are not big. They're not big.
You're literally on top of each other.
Yeah. Well, I'll say my cabin now, I'm on a 72 meters, so my cabin now is quite nice.
Okay.
But and there's things that we do because it's, much like the military with like bunks and stuff, yachts have that same thing. So cabin inspections, everyone has to make their bed every day. You have to clean your cabin. You have to leave the door open during the working day.
I would fail that inspection.
You absolutely would, yeah. Well, you can't have cats either. You can't have pets, which sucks.
Oh, yeah.
But it gets tough at times, because we're always working holidays. So, and like for me, I'd say the hardest part for me is, so during Christmas, we're usually somewhere warm. So you get so nostalgic. You're like, I just want to be in the snow by a fireplace. I miss my family. So it can be tough being on the ship for long periods of time. You miss your family. You get sick and tired of everyone you work with.
Yeah.
You love them. That's your family, but obviously you just can't stand them anymore. You want to you just want your own space.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to get off the boat.
It's a lot of personalities.
Well, typically when every yachty will tell you this, but you go on charter, you have this grueling charter when we're on charter, like, when I say I might not text people back on charter.
You never text me back.
that's how busy we are. And during our downtime, we are down. Like, you sleep, you don't want to talk about anything, because it's constant customer service. It's constant, like, 5-star standards. So it's grueling. Mm-hmm. So when we get into port after we drop off charter, every yachty, drop off day, boom, that uniform comes off, boom, the champagne comes out, and it's like, you can finally like
let loose,
like crew get hotel rooms because they don't want to sleep on the boat. They just want to get the hell away from it. And I'm like, don't play me.
That completely makes sense.
So being on the boat for a long period of time can be rough, but there's things we can do to make it better. Like we do have to keep our cabins nice, and if your roommate's really gross,
that's actually nice, like roommate wise,
etiquette,
right. And it's like, I mean, how it is to even living with someone. Like, if I have a mess, it doesn't bother me, but if somebody else has a mess, it drives me crazy.
Which is why it's so regulated on the boats, because if someone's nasty or
Right.
they snore
You
really
can't
loud or they
be.
stink or something, like they cause real problems on board. So
yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we've got one more question from the Malia KP White fan page. What's your favorite thing about the industry?
That's a tough one. I would say my favorite thing, like I've mentioned before, and why I decided it was a good career for me is I just constantly get to learn new things. Like we said, like I'm not someone who likes to stay in one spot. I like to be constantly challenging myself and learning.
Yeah.
Like there's days at work that I learn something, like I learn something new probably every day, you know?
That's how my job is too. It's the best.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's a passion. Like I'm actually passionate about it because I get to learn new stuff. And one of my favorite things is doing a crossing. You're just out in the middle of the ocean. It's just you, your crew, the big blue ocean. You know, you're getting weather reports sent in. You're just looking out, seeing marine life. You're just really being at sea and like you're one with the ocean. And then that's when I fell in love with yachting. That's when I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All
That's basically it in a nutshell.
That's a wrap.
I'd say that's a wrap for our first one. Yeah, I think that covers basically who I was, how I got here, where I'm going, and you know, some exciting things coming up this season. You know, we'll be talking to some of my fellow below deckers, but not really about below deck. I want to share the industry with you guys with kind of the other stuff, the real nitty gritty stuff. What, you know, real yachting is like for us in these boats, for people who are interested in trying the industry, for people who want to know more about it.
Yeah.
All the dirty secrets.
Can't wait.
So everyone listening, follow and subscribe on all Total Ship Show socials to stay up to date and get all the latest episodes. You can follow us on Instagram, and I'm terrible with it, but TikTok. And we'll be keeping you up to date with all of our exciting guests this season.